companies have more and more power to decide what can stay up and what must be taken down. They take advantage of our desire for ease, our resistance to effort, our resistance to challenge. And I think over time, if we're not already there, it will interfere with our ability to have critical thinking. It interferes potentially with our ability to be challenged. To the extent that we're limiting expression, we're also limiting challenge. We're limiting effort. People shouldn't be surprised if in the future there's less information available to them, less edgy, less provocative information available online. And I think that we will be a poorer society, we'll be poorer societies for it.
We stand for connecting every person, for a global community, for giving everyone in the world the power to share anything they want with anyone.
There are now 3 billion people around the world connected via social media.
The first stage is to get people addicted to technology to the point where, at the most extreme, they'll get up in the dead of night and they'll queue, stand in line outside an Apple store to get the first of the new technology. And what they want eventually, and not too distant into the future, is people basically lining up to be connected to AI. In the same way that people in Sweden now are having parties to celebrate someone being microchipped, right? This is all this connects. So the next stage, because the idea is to get in the body, the next stage is to get on the body. So we went from just holdables, we went to wearables, we went to Bluetooth and Google Glass and Apple Watches and all these other gadgets that go on the body now. Even what they call electronic tattoos that are basically microchips on the skin.
Controversial commentator Katie Hopkins has been permanently banned from Twitter after breaking the site's hateful conduct policy. Hopkins was suspended for a week in January this year after a series of hateful tweets. The 45-year-old has more than 1 million followers and has tweeted in support of far-right figures such as the English Defence League. Twitter has not confirmed what tweets were responsible for the permanent ban.
But what we're talking about here, Manila and Ben, are statements that might be hateful or incorrect or spiteful or injurious to the soul. I've never heard anything like this in my life. Isn't that the whole purpose of what free speech is about? The marketplace of free ideas? So this has no place in the world of law in terms of what they want to ban.
Facebook, which has 2.6 billion users, brought in nearly $70 billion in advertising revenue last year. The civil rights organizations are counting on major brands to join the temporary boycott to force sweeping changes, including that Facebook stop generating ad revenue from misinformation and harmful content, automatically remove all ads labeled as misinformation or hateful, and automatically flag any extremist content in private groups for human moderators to review.
Our task is to monitor and moderate the user-based content. I help people. I stop the spreading of child exploitation. I have to identify terrorism, have to stop the cyberbullying. Algorithms can't do what we do.
You start with the question, what's the vision for what should be on your platform? What isn't appropriate? What don't you want in your community? And there are choices in that, right? Like there is a choice to say, I'm going to not let anything go up before I review it. That's a choice. Or I'm going to permit most things and only review the things that are complained about. That's also a choice. When your value is around allowing more expression, allowing this sort of democratized platform to really live, then I think you go with the more liberal policies.
In a statement, Facebook responded, writing in part, "Our focus is to act on what is most important, removing hate speech and content that harms communities. In the first quarter of this year alone, we removed nearly 10 million pieces of hate speech. We have made progress, but there is still much more to do."
Why do a pause of advertising? Why not just walk away from Facebook advertising?
But Google, not being a public good or utility, doesn't that give them the right to allow whomever they want to be able to earn money through their platform, the thumbs up or thumbs down?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, there's a certain level of irony built into this story because, remember, President Trump issued an executive order recently that would remove Section 230 protections from tech companies like Google and YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, meaning that those companies could no longer be shielded as they are now from content that's placed on their platforms. Google says, hey, that's not fair. We're a platform. We're not a publisher. And yet they're acting exactly like a publisher by going in and saying, we will remove you from being monetized on our site. And here's the other thing. I love what Lionel said about the issue of what exactly are you removing and trying to save and protect the world from? Are you saying that websites cannot have readers and users who have opinions that Google doesn't agree with? And if you do have those viewers and readers, you must prevent them from speaking or commenting on a story in a way that Google doesn't like. That is insane.
When you open the floodgates and you ask the entire world to broadcast yourself, upload your life, share everything that you can think of to share, people respond. People with all sorts of motivations and interests and desires respond. When Facebook or Google claim that they don't have any employees in Manila, they can legitimately do that by using the labor of a third-party outsourcing firm. It's true that the paychecks don't come from Google or Facebook. They come from an outsourcing firm based in the Philippines. Commercial content moderators labor in the shadows of social media platforms, out of sight and out of mind, actually unknown to the millions of users of the platforms who've never given it much of a thought, who does the cleanup work on their platforms.
Yeah, Lionel, bigger picture here. Google is essentially the internet, right? The internet is our reality. If Google or Facebook or any other major platforms continue down this path of indirect censorship, what might be the ramifications on our society, Lionel?
A complete and total shutdown of free speech and the exchange of free speech and ideas. Look, imagine this, Manila and Ben. Let's assume, going back to the days of newspapers, imagine I made this ink, and I was an ink company, and this ink that I happen to use was used by 99% of everybody in the newspaper business. But I'm just a private industry, but it just so happens that the thing that I produce is responsible and used by 99% of all people who want to engage in speech. Do you think this idea that I'm a private concern, that this argument would fly anymore? Absolutely not. It's specious. And by the way, what are we talking about? All of this indemnity on the part of Google. What are we protecting them from exactly? This I'm not sure. I can use my imagination, but they've never really explained to us exactly what it is they're being shielded from. I mean, a libel, slander per se, or just nasty talk?
So this is the school, and the airstrike was in the school area, so the neighborhoods around it. Without our work, the armies would have, or the governments would have, a straight pass without anybody challenging them. There would be, I think, more civilians getting killed. There would be less closure.
Decide how it's run. You're dealing with an addicted generation.
This is a big time bomb ticking.
This is no accident. Indeed, it is by design.
I mean, seriously?
It was my mistake.
I mean, I think we can all feel it.
To try to make these products as addictive as possible.
Spike in dopamine.
We now know that many of the major social media companies hire individuals called attention engineers who borrow principles from Las Vegas casino gambling, among other places, to try to make these products as addictive as possible. That is the desired use case of these products, is that you use it in an addictive fashion because that maximizes the profit that can be extracted from your attention and data.
It literally is a point now where I think we have created tools that are ripping apart the social fabric of how society works. That is truly where we are.
The way the technologist Jaron Lanier puts it is that these companies offer you shiny treats in exchange for minutes of your attention and bytes of your personal data, which can then be packaged up and sold.
What happened is that the attention economy and this race for attention got more and more competitive. And the more competitive it got to get people's attention on, say, a news website, the more they need to add these design principles, these more manipulative design tactics, as ways of holding on to your attention.
You don't realize it, but you are being programmed.
Social media tools are designed to be addictive. The actual desired use case of these tools is that you fragment your attention as much as possible throughout your waking hours. That's how these tools are designed to use. Well, we have a growing amount of research which tells us that if you spend large portions of your day in a state of fragmented attention, so large portions of your day where you're constantly breaking up your attention, take a quick glance, do a just check, and just quickly look at Instagram, that this can permanently reduce your capacity for concentration. I am especially worried about this when we look at the younger generation coming up, which is the most saturated in this technology.
And it's very addictive because if you pull on the slot machine arm enough, you will win. And you never know which pull will reward you.